This
No.
is Bug.
Hey,
Look at that
Bug.
kitty.
Oh, totally. Can you hear me?
Oh, you sound so good. Look at you with your Yeti mic. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Play More Games. This is a podcast, typically, just with voices, about video games discussed amongst friends. And I decided, why not show our beautiful faces this time in social distance at its finest in this wonderful time of a pandemic. My name is Patches. Welcome back. If you're new here, hi. My name is Patches. I'm here with frequent flyer Peter
Yo yo.
Pajano. Hey,
Hi
buddy.
hi. Hey hey.
And Emily has also been on the podcast.
I have.
Beautiful bisexual friend Emily. Hi, how are
It's
you?
me. It's me. I'm good. I'm good-ish, you know.
Healthy, right? We hope.
We hope.
And Kelly. Hi,
Hey.
love. Hi. So, disclaimer, of course, this is, of course, going to have spoilers for The Last of Us Part 2. And we're just going to be discussing the game, I think, because there is a lot to unpack here. And I don't think anyone here, we might have some criticism, we might have little nitpicks here, but pretty much everyone here really enjoyed the game. So if you're looking for something with different perspectives, you're not going to find that here. This is just going to be fangirl, fanboy, whatever. It's going to be a lot. But I definitely wanted to sit down with some people who I know really love the game, really appreciate it as a series, and wanted to just discuss things. Because like I said, a lot to unpack. So, hope everyone is doing well. Wherever you're listening to this, my plan is to add it on YouTube, but wherever you're listening to this, please check out the description. There will be still some things to support the Black Lives Matter protest. What is it called? Forms to fill out, emails to send, and petitions to sign. That's what I'm looking for, the P word, petitions to sign. So please check that out in the description. And again, spoilers ahead. If you haven't finished the game, do not let us ruin it for you. Come on now. Don't let us do that. Okay. And everyone's healthy. Everyone's washing their hands, I hope. Cool. So we all finished the game, obviously. And I finished it in under 20 hours, actually. I blew through the game because I wanted to just get through the story. I played it on, there was like, what is it, light, easy, or super light?
There's like very light.
Yeah, very light.
I did it on just like easy, just so I can get through the story. I just was dying to see what happened next. I personally love the game. I think it's absolutely breathtaking. It's heavy. It's a gut punch of a game. And I was skeptical of a sequel, but I really enjoyed what they did with it. Is that kind of, we can go around and like just sum it up like that. Peter, if you want to start, just kind of, do you have similar thoughts? What are you thinking about as far as maybe score, or what do you got for us?
Score. I mean, I think there are very rare games that I'm like 10. So it could be in time. I think right now I would probably be more safe and be like, like a 9.95. I mean, which is still incredible.
Sure.
But I think I'm assuming we all agree that the first game is pretty complete. So I really didn't know, except that I assumed it would be more story for sure with Ellie, perhaps Joel and Ellie. I really didn't know what the story was going to be. Even after I saw the trailers, I was like, I'm not really sure, like, what more we're going to do. I don't know if that's what everyone else felt like. So yeah, I was, and I will say that as a person who loves the first game, I was very happy that the end of the game, the end of part 1, which was sort of polarizing with my friends. I would say like 60 to 70% of my friends liked the ending, but then I had other friends of mine, like my brother, who really thought Joel made the wrong choice. And so I thought that was interesting that the game kind of doubles down and is like, this is exactly what we're exploring. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I avoided the leaks. So I didn't really know, except for I saw all the major trailers. So anything that Naughty Dog put out, I was like, okay, I'm assuming I can watch this. So I put that out.
Safe.
Yeah.
Same.
So, but I love the Uncharted games, but I just didn't know what they could do. And now that I have finished it, oh, by the way, it took me about 25 hours. I think it was like 24:54. So let's just say 25 hours.
That's very specific. I love
So it took me about 25 hours. And now I kind of hope that their next game is part 3. Even though
Really?
even though I would like to see another, I really want to see another, I don't know if you all play the Uncharted games. I know Patricia does,
Yeah.
but I really like Lost Legacy. So I would like to see more of, what is it? Is it Nadine? Chloe and Nadine? I think that's
Chloe.
Nadine Ross. Yeah. So I would like to see that, but yeah, actually,
Hashtag make him gay.
right.
Truly.
Yeah, totally. I sort of right now feel like I would like to see the announcement in 2 years that Last of Us Part 3, but I hope it's not the end of the PlayStation 5 life cycle. I don't want to wait 7 years.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway, so I talked. So I was. I don't know if that's how everyone else felt, but I really do love the experience, but I didn't expect that there would be more story. So.
Yeah, that's been a thing too, and I think Naughty Dog even said they don't know if their next game. I mean, I remember seeing that years ago, where they were like, "We've already bought the titles, The Last of Us Part 2, and The Last of Us Part 3." I'm assuming, but they were like, "We don't know what our next game is going to be," and I don't know, I'm kind of in the favor of like a brand new IP, just like really change it up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because people have been wanting Naughty Dog to do a space game for a while too, but we can talk a little bit about that later.
Endure and Survive.
Dope. Oh.
So, Emily, what did you think of the game?
So I think my experience with The Last of Us is kind of different than all of yours, in that obviously I knew it existed, but I didn't play it until 2 months ago. Maybe I had never played the first one until like 2 months ago. I had it. I bought my PlayStation 3 with The Last of Us.
And we've been friends for how long? I have failed as a friend. Okay.
I mean, you can bring it up whenever you can, so it's fine. It happened. It finally happened. So I didn't play it until I knew that there was a part 2. So like the ending, while it does feel very contained of the first one, also felt like, okay, so that's what it's gonna do. We're gonna talk about this choice that got made, and that this choice has consequences. So like that's kind of what I thought was going to be happening in the game, and so it was nice to see that like Peter said, that the game kind of doubles down on like, yeah, that's what the game is about, like the choice that Joel made and like the consequences of that choice, which I really, really liked. I loved this game. It was really good. Yeah, I would say it's probably like rating wise, probably an 8.5 or 9 for me, for sure. Like it was very good. It took me longer to play it than all of you, but not by that much. So
well, you're working from home. You have your reasons. You're not gonna change.
Yeah.
And Kelly, what did you think?
I loved it, as you know. Rating-wise, I'm not great at rating stuff. I'm more of like a pass-fail kind of person, but I guess 9.5. I've even said 10 out of 10 before, and I never say that about games. I'm not that person, but this one was really, it hit home to me a lot. Patches knows, I don't know if you guys know, but like I have a lot in common with Ellie, so I've actually like really related to her. Like we're both from Boston, we're both gay, like a bunch of stuff. It just keeps piling up. But like, so like I got a lot out of this game. So I think that probably had a lot to do with it. I loved this. Wait, I have to ask real quick. Am I allowed to swear on this? Because
yes.
I need to censor myself. Okay.
Yes. Go full Kelly. So, let's hear it.
Like, I thought the gameplay was like fucking beautiful. I thought that the graphics were there were certain scenes in it where I was just like in awe. Like, I was supposed to keep moving forward, but I had to just stop and just stare around for a minute. And not even just like the scene at the end with her and JJ on the tractor or anything like that, but just like any random scene, I would just stop and be like, look at this like world they just built from nothing. It was so amazing. And then I loved the story too. I love how it just wasn't what we expected. And I know so many people are complaining because they felt almost entitled to have the story they wanted. I like it better when I get a story that I'm not expecting. And in this world, I like it better when I get a story that I don't want too. Because, this isn't a fairy tale ending kind of world that Druckmann built. It's harsh and it's critical and horrible and just rough. And that's exactly the story that he like built us out of, basically. And I don't know. It was so amazing, every moment of it. I know it dragged for some people, but it didn't really for me. I've always been super invested in character development. I mean, Patches, I'm like a kind of a writer. I do a lot of like graphic novels and stuff like that. And so character development is huge for me. And when we got so much backstory on all of these characters and I just kept getting more and more invested in them, like the story became so much more rich for me because of it. So yeah, I loved it. 9.5 out of 10, maybe 10 out of 10 if I'm like really fangirling out about it. So
yeah, I think it's such a testament to like the storytelling that they're doing at Naughty Dog that like it is. I think that this game was probably a very Herculean task storytelling wise to be able to be like, here's Joel. Yes, he's an anti-hero, but a lot of people think he's like just a hero. And so like, obviously a lot of people are going to be mad and are very mad that he is murdered. And then that we follow the person who murders him and like that they draw these parallels between who Abby is and who Joel was and who Ellie is. And that like her story is not just wrapped up plot wise with them, but wrapped up in kind of an emotional adventure that like we took with both of them over the course of 2 games plus Abby now in this game. Like, and I think people because a lot of people obviously are mad about Joel and like don't like Abby just off the bat for that whatever and aren't emotionally investing in like her like half of the story. Like, I'm like, how do you guys process media? Like, I don't know what to tell you then. Like, you're not like, I don't know. Yeah. I think it's a Herculean task that they did very, very well. I think it's extremely good.
Can I say something this is just a weird convenience. I played The Last of Us when it came out. Actually, I think I probably played it early because I was reviewing. I sort of review stuff now, but not as much as I used to. But back in the early 2000s, I was reviewing a lot of games and movies. So I did review The Last of Us, and I played it before I got to see what everyone else thought. And I loved it and everything. But it's weird because I just want to come back to, I think, Kelly, you were talking about characters or character arcs and stuff. I just finished for my first time. This is going to sound like a weird tangent, but my girlfriend loves Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I've seen the M. Night movie, which is terrible. But I've never seen the show, and she's always like, "It's perfect. It's like 3 seasons, and it's like the perfect like character sci-fi or world building." Have you guys all watched the show?
Yeah.
Okay, so I watched The Last Airbender right before Part 2 came out, and Last of Us Part 2 came out, and I loved it. So I watched a lot of video essays, and I came across something, and this is what I wanted to throw out. I was watching this video essay about how to do characters and backstories, and this I don't remember. I think it's called Just Right. I think that's the name of the site. And what he was saying was that, like, in a lot of ways, Batman, I'm sure we're all aware of Batman. Batman's backstory, most of the time it's told, isn't very interesting. Like, we might all like Batman, but his backstory, which is, well, I'm assuming we all know Batman before I say this. So Bruce Wayne's parents are killed when he's a kid. He gets the Wayne estate, and he grows up to become Batman because he wants to rid the city of Gotham for, bad people, but also because of this terrible thing that happened to him. The problem with that as a backstory is that it's fine, but because he's a kid, or not a kid, but because of the way the incident happens, there's not a lot of agency to him as a kid. It's kind of like, all right, your parents died. That's really sad, but the character doesn't have a lot of agency. And what he brought up was that in Batman Begins, there's a scene right before Bruce Wayne, I think they're at the theater, and Bruce is afraid of bats. And so in the theater, the play they're seeing, there's like some bat, and Bruce gets really scared, and he tells his mom or dad, "Oh, can we leave?" So they leave the theater, and then the parents get killed.
Yeah.
Now Bruce feels responsible. Bruce feels that he's kind of responsible for his parents' death, even though he kind of isn't, but he kind of feels that. That is way more interesting. So with that in mind, I thought about The Last of Us Part 2, and then I went all the way back to Joel's thing. And I was like, well, I love The Last of Us, but I'm like, when Joel's daughter dies, there's no way Joel can feel responsible. I'm like, he did the best he could, except that, well, he is a dad, or he's a parent, and I guess there's the feeling that you're always supposed to protect your child. And then I had this thing like halfway through The Last of Us Part 2 thinking about Abby, and then I realized that I think that Druckmann and is it Bailey? Is that the Westworld writer? It's co-written, right?
Haley Gross.
Hallie Gross.
Hallie Gross. That I think that what they're doing is, I think they're kind of consciously not doing heroes. I think if anything, they are, like you said, doing either anti-heroes or just kind of, I don't know, not necessarily antagonists.
Normal people almost.
Yeah, because I kept thinking of it, and I was like, okay, well, I was like, so now Ellie's in a situation where she loses Joel, and there's nothing she can do. I was like, it's just this terrible thing. But then the more I'm playing the game, I was like, oh, well, I think what's going on here is that, like, sorry about the horn. I think what's going on here is that I think that there is guilt that the characters are having, but it's not necessarily that. It's not that A to B easy. It's like, well, it's more the guilt of, like, when we see the backstory of, like, the falling out that Joel and Ellie had and what her rough feelings were and all of that. And I was like, and that makes it way more interesting. And then, of course, I think, and then I'll stop talking, I think what we're seeing with Abby is that Abby's backstory, again, has nothing to do with her. Her dad dies. It's this terrible thing. But Abby's arc isn't really about losing her dad. Abby's arc, it basically begins when she kills Joel, and basically the fallout of that, and how Owen reacts, and how everyone else reacts, and is that good, and can she live with herself? And I think that's really interesting. Anyways, super long, I'm sorry, I'll let someone else talk, but I think that that's interesting how in a video game they're using backstory and flashbacks to inform the character, but not in ways that I would think, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
No, for sure. Sorry, I was definitely listening to all that. My AirPods just totally stopped working, like, in the middle of that. Love it. They just won't connect to my computer. Whatever.
We love it.
I agree. Love to see it. Love when it happens. Yeah, we briefly talked about this a little bit too. I mean, I really like Abby. Like, I think she's just
I do too.
badass. Yeah. And
I did not in the begining.
Sorry. I know. I
think that was intentional.
I know. Like, yeah.
I had a buddy of mine that messaged me and was like, angry for a minute there that they made him play Abby's perspective, and he's like, "Oh, come on, don't make me sympathize with her. Like, don't do this to me." And it's like, no,
That's it. That's the game. Sympathize
Yeah.
with people.
you have to do
Yeah.
this, and it's emotionally really taxing to me. But at the same time, I love that kind of storytelling, especially I mean, sometimes I can get weird, especially when I'm reading too. I can get weird with like multiple perspective things, and I'm just like, I don't really care to see every single perspective, but I think having Abby's perspective brings so much to the world and how people are acting now. And I got a bunch of weird themes of like religion and like, is there even a bad guy in this world? Like,
Yeah.
who's the and I think there's just so much to discuss with it. And I love there was an interview that Neil Druckmann did. Peter and I were talking about it. Neil Druckmann, Ashley Johnson, Troy Baker, who voiced Joel and Ellie, with Greg Miller from Kind of Funny, and they were talking about it, and they were saying, even the people who have created it are still learning about it. Like, there's still so much to take from it, and they love hearing all the perspectives because they're like, when you put it that way, I made the damn thing and I didn't even think of that, but that makes sense. And it's like, I mean, it's just, I think it's fascinating. Of course, I love it. I mean, I've always loved The Last of Us. I will say this. I do understand where people are coming from as far as criticism goes. I think it was a very different approach that they could have taken it, but I think that's what made it great, was we didn't really expect it. But that's just personally. I think that I do understand what people are saying. I do understand why some people didn't really like it as much as far as the homophobia goes. I'll never understand that, of course, but never understand that. I do understand. The only thing I can draw from this is reading too. Sometimes if I read like 3 thrillers in a row, it's like, oh my god, I don't want to read another thriller. I need something a little bit more lighthearted. A lot of people were saying that like this just didn't feel like climate we're in didn't really feel like the time to be playing a game like this, and that I get as well. Sometimes I don't like stuff that I have read because I just didn't feel like I read it at the right time. So I understand where people are coming from with that, but at the same time I'm biased because
that's also not the game's fault. Like,
I was gonna say they could have planned for a pandemic.
That's true. I do get what they're saying though, is like from an emotional standpoint.
Yeah, I get the vibe of it. It's just like, it's that's like a short straw that they just have to draw.
I totally understand. I get it from all perspectives. I do think this was a interesting take on continuing the world. But then I'm seeing a lot of tweets that are like, Joel got what he deserved. Like, he was such a piece. You have to remember what the type of person that Joel was before all of this. Like, he was a drug smuggler. Like, he was about to smuggle a child to a different city. Like, you got to remember, like, the horrible thing. Like, we didn't even see all of it. There was 20 years of stuff that Joel has done that we did. And what's fascinating is I was actually playing a little bit before you were, Peter. And when you saw what Abby had done, you were like, I feel like Abby is like someone's daughter, and you actually predicted maybe it was David's daughter, and I thought that was fascinating. And I was just like,
ooh, that would have been
crazy.
Crazy. We would have sympathized with the cannibals. I mean, that's just me. But I thought that was an interesting take. But yeah, I just, oh my god. Okay, so Joel's death, right, which is still hurts. I love, we were talking about platinuming the game, but both Peter and I were like, I don't know if I could sit through that again. I don't know if I could play that part again. I just, oof.
Yeah, it was actually more rough the next time through, because you're like, you know it's coming, so you're watching it more like attentively almost, and you see, like, there's this thing when fucking Abby, I didn't fully miss it, but the first time, but it was in such graphic detail the second time I was watching it, when she gives him the final blow and a spurt of fucking blood come out of his head. And I was just like, I felt myself convulse at it almost, and it was just so rough. But for what it's worth, the platinum is super easy. Like, it's super easy. It's way easier than the first one. You don't have to go through, like in the last one, you had to play on Grounded and Grounded Plus. You have to do factions like multiplayer and stuff. You don't have to do any of that in part 2. It's just one difficulty level. It's like a 1.5 playthroughs through. You just have to make sure you get all the collectibles, hit the workbenches, stuff like that. And then the shooting contest, and there's like a couple little things, but for the most part, it's just like your basic kind of trophy collection. It's super easy. Yeah.
That's good to know. Yeah, because I've never platinumed the game before, and I really want to platinum The Last of Us because I feel like that would just make sense for me.
I kind of wish I did the first one before I platinumed part 2, because that was, that was my goal. Patches knows I like had my first gamer rage out over trying to platinum part 1, because I was following a walkthrough, and it was like this whole game through I was collecting the pendants, I was doing everything, I was being like really meticulous about it, and then it's like this bloater that I have been, it's the scene where you're going through the college dorms before you hit like the college science center, and there's the bloater in there, and every time I had played it, I was like, I fought him, like that's what I did. But in this walkthrough, it's like, oh, you can actually sneak by him. And I was like, I didn't know that. And I'm all about being stealthy. So I was like, okay, I'm going to sneak by him. And I get through to the next door. And then I scroll past like 6 arbitrary photos that didn't need to be in there. And then underneath it goes, oh, but the bloater drops a pendant that you need to collect after you kill him. And I almost threw my controller. I was so fucking mad, man.
It's like, and then you can't fucking not fight him.
No, you couldn't go back. I had already gone through the door. And my manual save was like not working. It was from like my last game. It was just, oh my God.
Oh, no.
I guess you can do chapters on it now, which I just learned from this playthrough, which I don't know how I've played part 1 like 6 times, and I didn't realize that was an option. But this time I missed one thing, but I could go back in chapters and get it, and it was
that's good.
A lifesaver, because it was like 3 a.m. last night when I was going for my platinum, and then I picked up the last collectible, and I was like, why didn't it give me my platinum notification? It was because I missed one thing, and I was like, I'm not doing this again, but I could go back and grab it.
I just don't have the patience to platinum. I don't know what, like, props to you, dude, because I get too frustrated. Because I always sneak past that bloater, always. Like, you get to that door and you have to, like, just pound square to, like, squeeze through it, and the bloater's coming after you, and I just flip right by them.
And then I think I did that, and then I get to the other side, and I was, like, all proud of myself, and I was like, look at that, you did it, and then to learn that I needed to actually fight him.
Kill him, actually.
What a nightmare.
Also love the very... what is it? Inside ending monster spoiler bloater that they have created in this game.
The Rat King.
Oh yeah.
4 different enemies into one. I will say.
Oh my God, I died so many times trying to kill it, and then when I finally did, I was like, tight. And then I was like, where did that dude go? Where the fuck is he?
One more.
I was like, oh, he came off of him.
Yeah, I definitely died a lot in that part. Especially the last one. No, it was really it was tricky even on easy. Like
that was the first time that I was playing the game on moderate. The Resident Evil / Inside section, that's when I had to put it on easy, because I was like, I can't do. I spent like 20 minutes trying to kill it, and I was like, what is the deal with this thing? Like, that was when I
just forgot that you can stop in the middle of the game. I just played it straight through on whatever difficulty I was playing.
I was telling people that, because everyone was like getting the game online on the subreddit, and they're like, what difficulty should I play at? And I'm like, you can change it in the middle of the game.
I just remembered.
but it hurts my.
Dude, but for any bloaters, just do explosive shit. That's what I learned. Because I was like, you can't use a pistol, you can't use the revolver, you have to use shotgun and explosives and fire. That's the only thing that's going to kill them. That Rat King in the hospital basement, I literally threw, what was it, like 3 pipe bombs in a row, and then the incendiary shells on the shotgun. I killed him in like less than 30 seconds.
Can I ask, as long as we're talking, it sounds like, if we can kind of talk about gameplay, I've also played The Last of Us a lot. I don't know if I played it 6 times, maybe like 4 times, but I've played it a lot. And
I'm a crazy fangirl.
So no, I love it. I think there's only 2 games I've played like 7 times. I think that was like Grand Theft Auto 4 and Mass Effect, the first one. But Last of Us, maybe 5. I don't know if I did. Okay, doesn't matter. Anyways, one thing that I have a friend of mine, and she loves shooters. And she always thinks she loves shooters and she loves RPGs. And so when I'm playing a game and I'll put it on easy, or I'm just like, this is too complicated, she always gives me a hard time because she's like, dude, she's like, just pay attention to what they're saying and you can like learn it. She has never finished The Last of Us, and she is so excited that The Last of Us is going to be an HBO show because she hates the gameplay. And I'm always like, just put it on easy. Then you can. She's like, I love these characters. I want to see this story. She's like, I love this, but she's like, I don't like stealth. And I was like, okay, well, that is a big part of the game.
That's a big part of the game.
It is. I was like, well, that's a big part of the game. But
it's like Metal Gear Solid. You need to
right.
do stealth if you're gonna get
I guess so. It's funny. So then my girlfriend, because then I was like, okay, well, with my girlfriend, I was like, you should play The Last of Us, and she's way more of a Nintendo person. So like she loves like Super Smash Brothers, Zelda, and stuff. And she also was having a hard time with The Last of Us, the first one. So I just wanted to ask for you guys, like, if you're playing Last of Us on Grounded or something, it's pretty hard. But I don't know. I've never thought that The Last of Us control scheme was that complicated. But now I've heard more than one person tell me that they just find the directional button. It's very confusing. The whole crafting thing, it's on the fly. Like, what did you guys, was it a learning curve for you guys the first time you played? Back in the day?
I have like a certain style that really fits in with The Last of Us. I think that's one of the reasons I like it so much. I craft everything and I'm prepared for it so that I can pick up as much as I can. And stealth is my MO, mostly because I don't want to waste ammunition. I'm one of those gamers that I won't use anything unless I absolutely have to. I save onto it. Yeah. And so stealth was always my thing. Stealthing through The Last of Us makes it so much fucking easier. Because the shooting, it can actually be kind of difficult at times. But like, I've heard people who are terrified of clickers. I love when I see a clicker. They're so fucking easy. They're blind. They can't see you. You just behind them and take them out. Like, they're so...
It's the runners you got to worry about if they're hanging out with the clickers.
Yeah, exactly. Take the runners out first, then you take out the clickers, and then avoid the fucking bloaters if you can. That's, like, what I do. When I have to do, like... it's actually hysterical, though, because on my second run-through, when I was going for platinum, I put it on the mega easy one, because that's what everyone was saying. They're like, just, skip cutscenes and, like, grab what you need and go. And I was cracking up the whole time at how fucking easy it was through stealth in that, because I do prone like half the game. Like, I just prone through everything. You'll be right in front of somebody and they can't see you, and then you'll just fall kill them. It's so funny. But yeah, I think as like a stealth focused player, it's so much easier than if you go in trying to like shoot and stuff, especially because I feel like the aiming is slightly different in The Last of Us than it is in, like, say, like Red Dead 2 or something like that. So if you need to make up for that a lot while you're still getting used to the game, it can definitely be frustrating in that way, I think.
Yeah, I always said that as much as I love The Last of Us, the first game, as much as I love it, I always enjoyed the Uncharted gameplay more. It's like I was playing The Last of Us for the story. Uncharted is kind of fun. Like Uncharted is like, yeah, more sneaky, more enemies, different. I don't know. Like I just always had more fun with Uncharted gameplay, but The Last of Us Part 2 feels like a much more fluid combo, I guess, where it gives me what I'm wanting, and I love seeing all these videos that people put together of the crazy shit Ellie can do with like rope swinging on
Oh
and
yeah.
like
Yes.
I love the gameplay of this. I think it was
It's like
so well done. The crafting was really fluid to me. The workbenches were really cool because they were really realistic, from what I've heard. And I thought it was just amazing. Like it felt like a reason to play the game again and not just because of the story, which is like I'm not saying anything bad about The Last of Us, the first game. That's just not why I played it. I played it because I wanted to cry, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like
Just
more of
girly
a
things.
it's the thing. It's more of a I want to play this because the gameplay is fun. However, there is the part I will say this while we're on the topic of this. I I've played some really tricky games as far as, survival horror, where sometimes I'm like, I'm too scared to continue. I have given up on some games. I have been cautious of, proceeding, I guess. But this is the only video game that has made me say, like, I don't know if I can actually continue playing this. The part where you're playing as Abby after you've done the flip, and you have to fight and find Ellie. It's like I had to stop because it was like, I don't know if I could do this. Like, I actually don't know if I can do this emotionally. Like, this is the most insane thing I've ever had to have been asked to do as a character in a game. Like, this is the most insane thing I've ever had to experience. And I don't know if I'm ever going to get a feeling like that again. Like, the way this game was crafted was just like, it emotionally just screwed me up. And like, I think that's something that I'm never going to experience with another game. But I mean, I don't know, because there's been like some parts in maybe Uncharted that were kind of sad. Obviously, the first Last of Us, but it's like, what game is going to make you fight a character that you have played for so long and have loved and just adore Ellie? I mean, she's precious, and like, I don't want to fight her. Like, what are you talking about? And so this is the only game that has made me almost. I had to finish it, but it was like I don't want to. Like, I don't want to continue this. I don't know. It's just an emotionally. It's just a lot. Like this, I just don't know how to explain it other than this game is just a lot. And I really, obviously, love Joel. I don't love that they killed him, but it made sense. It just made sense to continue the story this way. And
Well, because I mean, one, I agree with you. That's when I called you. Was when I was like, I don't want to be Abby and hurt Ellie. That was the scene that I called you for. But I felt the same at the end. I felt the same when I was Ellie. When it's like she's been on this whole revenge thing,
You don't want to hurt
and I was
Abby.
like, well, I don't want to kill.
Yeah.
And especially at that point, Abby is not Abby is not where she's at through the rest of the game. So then I was like, come on, man. I was like, you help them escape, just get on the boat. It's like, I don't want to do this, like, so I felt both times. It was very put the controller down where I was like, I don't know what to do
like,
here, yeah.
With Ellie, like, you have a house, you have Dina, you have JJ, like,
Yeah.
there's so much, like, and Tommy survived. Oh my god.
Shocked. Utterly shocked.
Dude, see, that was the thing that like really had me just feeling horrible for Ellie, was like Tommy survives and clearly he becomes obsessed with Abby after that point, to the point where him and Maria break up because it's not stated, but she like can't deal with it,
right?
And he can't go, and so when Ellie refuses, he starts guilting the fuck out of her, and so she feels obligated to go and finish, even though she wants to just let it go. She's still suffering from PTSD from it, but like she feels pushed to go. And then even after she let Abby go, you see like she's about to get in the boat And then she just sees Joel's face flash in front of her eyes, and she's like, I have to fucking do this. And she doesn't want to, but she has to. And like, I just felt so bad because it wasn't, towards the end, it wasn't even revenge. It was like feeling obligated to this person to like avenge them. It was avenge, not revenge. And then like the whole climax of it, well, not climax, but the whole point was like, she figures like the best thing she can do for Joel is to just be happy and move on from it, not, you know, ruin herself for him. And it was just this whole thing she went through. Like, oh my God, it gutted me, honestly.
So, do you guys think that if we were just, you know, if we're just going to make our own predictions, and I'm sure they've thought of every combination, I mean, typically, if you have a trilogy, if this ends up being a trilogy,
I think it will be. The
third one is usually more structurally predictable because it usually has to recycle certain things, like especially from like the first and second. Usually the second is when you can do whatever you want to be like, we're going to do something crazy, and they did. I have to say that if I was Naughty Dog and I was Neil, I would wait and hopefully see that people that there is a strong like Abby camp, not that they're anti-Ellie, but that they really appreciate Abby's journey, because I kind of feel like part 3 is clearly going to be, Ellie decides that she needs to find the Fireflies. I have no idea if her immunity means anything anymore. She gets there, Abby is there, there's some threat, and they have to work together. I'm assuming that makes sense. I'm not saying that they're going to all hug and be friends, but it feels
they'll
like
have to work together.
Yeah, it feels like that's kind of what you need. That has to be the third one. Like, but then again, I remember people thinking that. In fact, I think Patricia, I think you're one of them. I think we thought that part 2 might have to deal with, is Ellie's mom Anna? Is that the mom?
Yeah.
And I thought it was like, maybe like it's going to be a different time period, and we get to see what Ellie's mom was like. So maybe me saying this is completely wrong. And it's like, no, that's not what we're going to do. So I don't know. I just wanted to say, what did you guys think? Or what would you want to see for a third one?
I actually have a super strong theory for part 3 that kind of ties in with that. So I think what's going to happen is, like you said, you can usually predict what the theme of the third part of a trilogy would be, which I feel like in this case would have to be redemption, because Ellie pretty much followed in Joel's footsteps throughout this and caused a lot of havoc, and, you know, she needs to try and make up for it or whatever. I feel like she's going to, and this is the part that I get stoked on, I feel like she's going to travel back to Boston to try and find out more about Anna and where her immunity comes from. And because she has lost Dina and Tommy, she will be hooking up with Bill, and we can see Bill and Ellie together.
That would be awesome. I love Bill.
Yeah, and then I feel like it would end up bringing Abby and Ellie together, where there's a lot of contention there, but they would be forced to work together to try and, you know, fix this. And so that's where, and I feel like they could really dig deep into the backstory. We could see Anna in flashbacks and stuff like that, kind of like how we saw Dr. Anderson and stuff. And like, I think it could really round out the story if they ended up going in that direction.
Oh man, I would love to see Bill. Bill's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah,
Bill and Ellie have such a funny dynamic.
Yeah, they do.
Seeing them as like, seeing her as an adult dealing with them, I feel like they could have a really good back and forth.
Oh, that's a good idea. I like that. Yeah.
I was definitely one of the people that thought the mystery woman, who turned out to be Abby,
was Anna.
Anna. And I met, still the coolest thing ever, went back in PlayStation Experience 2017 when I met Neil Druckmann and Hallie Gross and the rest of the cast. I told Neil Druckmann to his face, I was like, I think that's Anna, like trying to be like a good Last of Us fan, like, that's her mom. And he was like, okay. I was like, I'm sure they were just loving it, because to guess this. I mean, I love that. I mean, as much as we can sit here and predict the third game, like, I really hope they just throw us something out of just
yeah.
Wild.
Yeah,
Look at this
exactly.
game. I mean, I'm sure you could predict that, like, okay, this isn't going to last forever. Like, something's going to happen to Joel or Ellie, and it's like, wow,
Okay.
strap in. Like, we got something for y'all. I don't know. I don't even know. Well, again, I didn't even really want a part 2, so it's like, do I even want a part 3? Like, what else do I need to see? Do we have any predictions on, I guess, the ending? Where did Dina go? Where's Ellie going? Do we have any ideas? Because I have theories, but
I mean,
I have to switch up my headphones because these are dying, but I'll be right back. Sorry.
okay.
Go ahead. Oh, go ahead, Amanda.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I assume that Dina went back to be with Jesse's parents with the kid.
At Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I hope that Abby ends up with the Fireflies. That was, oh man, that scene where they're like in the house and they're talking, you're like, oh, yeah, this is cool, this is gonna be great, and then she just fucking gets like decked out and like bad. big feelings.
I really hope Lev is okay. I think Lev is okay.
Yeah, I think Lev will be okay.
About it.
That's something I also really appreciated, not just that there are so many LGBT characters in the story, but also that they're all fucking alive at the end of the game, as far as we know. And that even though Ellie and Dina aren't like together, like they're both still queer, so like and alive, so like what's up? They're queer, they're alive, everybody's winning. We're all winning here. Which is something I really appreciated about the game for sure. Hello.
Did you guys when the three of you were playing, did you realize what the arc was going to be, or not the arc, but I guess the reveal was going to be on Lev? I did not.
I didn't either.
My girlfriend was like, "Oh," because what do they say? Doesn't Abby say like, "Why were you exiled?" And Lev's like, "Oh, I shaved my head," and it's like, "Fine, don't tell me." And my girlfriend was like, "Well, I think all the guys have shaved heads." And I was like, "Is that true?" I'm like, because I think right before this, I think I had killed like a female Seraphite, and so she had hair. I was like, "Is that true?" I'm like, "I don't understand." I'm like, "Maybe." So then, yes, when I was like, "Oh yeah," like, but no, I did not see that at all. Didn't see that coming.
I guess I kind of did, because I knew. I think Ian Alexander, who voiced Lev, was pretty vocal about like, "Hey, Last of Us has a transgender character."
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't come into it that information, but
I knew that.
But yeah, no, I didn't kind of vibe that, but like I vibed that I didn't vibe that, and that really works very well.
How did you feel about them dead naming Lev?
Wait, the what?
Dead name.
Bothered by that. I mean, it was. Sorry.
I mean,
what did she say?
Dead naming. So it's using the name, the birth given name of transgender people at them, the name that they have chosen to leave behind.
Oh, well, that's the bad people. You mean?
Exactly.
Well, yeah, that's the bad people, of course. Like
That's kind of the whole point of his story.
So
of course. Like, yeah, I was like, oh yeah, that's the jerk.
I just know it's like a sensitive topic. So
I mean, like I'm here and there. Like, obviously, I'm cis, so like, you know.
Yeah, we can only say so much, but
yeah, exactly. So I'm like, it's good that like it's only the bad people who are doing it, but like obviously that's like, if a trans person doesn't feel good about that, then that's like, I understand that for sure. But I think story-wise, I think it works in terms of like, that the villains are the only people doing it, that like this is like,
even Ellie doesn't refer to him
like everyone who we consider like heroes, regardless of which part of the story we're in, or like leads anyway, are all like right name, right pronouns, everything's good, Gucci gang. You know?
I really love the parallels But I mean, obviously, you can make parallels between Lev and Abby with Joel and Ellie, and you can definitely see that they have similar, I don't know, older person caring for younger person type situation, or kind of get more of like a sibling vibe from Abby and Lev as the story goes on. But I do love when they're first meeting and Abby mentions something like that, where it's like, why were you exiled? But she doesn't really care, which I think is Joel vibes, or he's like, I don't, whatever. Like,
my favorite part was when Lev was like, do you want to ask me about it? And Abby straight up was like, do you want me to ask you about it? And he was like, no. And she was like, okay, then we're not talking about it.
Then we're done.
moving on.
Yeah, I liked that a lot.
Yeah, that was good. There were a lot of, oh my god, the ending too of Abby carrying Lev. And
I got you.
It's the end. Oh man, yeah. The like, the parallels of all the things. It's just like.
Did you guys notice too that when we were first in Santa Barbara and we see them walking up to the residence, to the to what was it, 1214 or whatever? Lev is wearing Chucks as he walks up, and it looks, you think it's Ellie for a second, and it throws you back to the last one.
You know, that's something that I've been watching a lot of video essays on The Last of Us Part 2 and reading reviews, and it's interesting because a lot of, and I'm not, this is just opinion, so they're not necessarily right or wrong, but a lot of people like to make comparisons between Abby and Ellie. And well, I mean, we're watching their journey, but it's weird because when I watched it, I was like, well, actually, it feels like I'm supposed to. Yeah, I was like, I feel like I'm supposed to compare Abby to Joel, like that. But yeah, it sounds like you did too. But, you know,
well, I think that was kind of her arc, was that she starts more like Ellie, where like she is Ellie
now.
At the end of like Ellie's now current arc, and she moves on into basically Joel's arc from there. Yeah. They even have the same fighting styles, like the way they choke people out. They have the shank upgrades, the ship upgrades. It was so reminiscent of fighting as Joel, and that's where I really started to see the comparisons. But then when they started pulling it together in the story at the end, I was like, okay, this is very much intentional. And then when she picks up Lev and she says, "I got you," which is what Joel says to Ellie when he gets her in the hospital.
I need to go play.
But can we talk about how fucked up Abby looked after being crucified on the beach? I didn't recognize her. I walked around in circles for like 10 minutes thinking the game was glitching because it wouldn't let me move on.
I said the same thing because I saw the little circle indicator where you can go triangle something, and I literally thought me walking up to that person was gonna like have Ellie look at her and be like, "No, that's not Abby."
Yeah,
right. But like it was, and Abby goes, "It's you," and I was like, "Wait."
Yeah.
I was like,
is it you though?
I was gutted to see that. I mean, the whole game gutted me, let's be real. But, like, I don't know how long she was up there. I mean, they mentioned that, like, a month ago, there was looking for Abby, right? Yeah, but, like, oh, my God, I felt so bad. Like, Abby tried to escape. She's been down by the ocean, like, I don't even know if she's alive still, and it's like, oh my God. And then at that point, you're like, I sympathize with Abby. Let's go get Abby. Let's make sure Abby's okay. Yeah, it's, and I know a lot of people had issues with not the very ending, the ending of Abby and Ellie's fight. A lot of people wished that they had just talked.
Yeah. I kind of wish they had a little conversation.
Very interesting.
No. I think it makes perfect sense that they're doing another fight. Like, neither of these characters talk about their feelings.
Yes.
It makes sense that no matter where they are, that it's like, all right, this is what we do to solve our problems, is we fight.
The talking can come in part 3. That's
well, that's what I thought that too. Can I ask though, I did have that issue. I was like, why don't they just talk? Like, but I see what you're saying. They're not really chatty people, so I get that. One thing that I think the one thing, I don't know if this would really be a nitpick as much as just something I wanted explored, was that it felt to me like when you go back to Abby's flashback, you see Marlene and I'm sorry, I don't remember her dad's name is. They're talking and they're like, oh, we're going to do this surgery, but she's probably not going to survive. And then Marlene's like, I'm going to tell Joel. And she's like, oh, this Joel, he spent a year with her going across the country. So Abby is right outside that door. Then Abby comes in and says, oh, Dad, I want you to know if that was me, I would want my life to end if it could save humanity. Okay, so with all that in mind, when you go to that scene where she kills Joel and
She
then
knows who Ellie is.
So why doesn't she kidnap her and be like, you are the immune person, you're coming with us? I don't understand that.
I think
that they've given up hope.
Well, yeah, they did say that. They said that her dad was the only person who could have made that scene.
That was 5 years ago. Like, I mean, anything's.
I agree, and I think that might come back up again. But I'm not 100% sure she ever saw Ellie. She might. I feel like there's a good chance that she straight up just thought this was some random person from the camp freaking out.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, true. I guess it's possible.
That's true. But no, I also did think that. I was like, she probably, at the very least, knows that somebody with Joel, like, she's probably like, if that girl's not dead, just from being dead, that girl's immune, we should find her. Like, it's obviously her revenge mission, like, took over her kind of brain probably about that, but yeah, I also thought about that too.
And the other thing was that, sorry, go ahead.
So I was just going to say, Abby's main goal now is just to reconnect with the Fireflies. Like, she didn't really care about Ellie's, at all. And
why wouldn't you bring the immune person if you know she's immune? You're right. If you don't know it's her,
she knows at the end, right, but obviously, if
right,
Ellie tells her, and then she's like,
right,
you can see it kind of going in her head, and then she says, like, you killed my friends, like, I can't let you go right now, even though she does. But I know what you're saying now.
The other thing I thought of was that I think Ellie's quest for immediate revenge, because when Joel dies, how long is it between Joel dies and then they head to Seattle? It's not very long.
It's like
I think it's like a couple weeks or something.
Yeah,
I think they have to have like the burial and stuff. They made a headstone for him.
Right,
so.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. Because I was thinking that was also a little tricky for me, was that I think the player's investment in Joel and Ellie, if you kill Joel, the player pretty much wants to go on this quest because they care, hopefully they care about Joel and they care about Ellie. I totally get that. I do sometimes think with Abby, by the end of the story, I really liked Abby as a character. But I do think when I think about her situation, I'm like, well, wait, so she loses her dad and that's terrible. But then she spends years thinking about this, but it never occurs to Abby, well, this guy that killed my dad, he basically thought of Ellie as a daughter, and that's why he did that. Not saying that it would make it okay, but I feel like if you had 5 years to think on that, you might lessen a little. You might be like, he loved her, I don't know.
I don't know if she knew he loved her like that, though, because from their perspective, he was just the transporter, basically. He just brought her over there.
But Marlene has that line where he's like, where she says, to me, Marlene's line feels like, I'm telling Joel because he cares about her.
Yeah.
Not because he's a courier. At least that was my interpretation.
No, I agree with that. I think Marlene saw that they grew fond, like an attachment and everything. But I'm saying the 3 degrees past that to Abby, I don't know if she knew that. That's the only thing I'm saying.
That could be.
I think maybe the idea that, because even though Abby hears that line, that like she's never seen it in action, so it's just like this kind of nebulous thought kind of thing, but like Marlene has seen them and seen how they behave together, so it makes sense that she's like saying that with like conviction and that like he deserves this, but Abby's just like, I don't know, okay, thanks, like obviously,
I find it kind of, my one thing is like they didn't even consider just waking her up and asking her if she was okay with it
Yeah.
first. Like, that's my only... They didn't even stop to consider that. That's
true.
the only thing. And that's the only... But I think they did that intentionally because, like, if they had done that, Joel couldn't do shit. But because they didn't, that's what justified him in going and getting her, even though I think he knew that she would have wanted that. She wanted her life to mean something and her immunity to mean something.
Speaking of speaking of Ellie not, Ellie and Abby not having a conversation because they're not talkers, I love the scene at the end, and thankfully, the scene where the bigot Seth called them the D word at the dance, wasn't Ellie and Joel's last encounter.
I was worried.
Yeah.
I was worried.
Yeah. They took it right to the last second of the game to show us that wasn't their last fucking encounter.
But I love their part on the roof where they're both kind of tearing up, and I have a coffee mug here, but Joel's just kind of like, yep. Okay.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking that too, because when we were talking about how they're like, Abby and Ellie aren't talkers, Joel and Ellie aren't talkers, which is weird because Ellie was a talker. Her most famous line from the first one was, "I want to talk about it." Yeah. And but she no longer is because of what she's gone through. And so when they part, I was just like, just tell them you love them. And I was like, that's not them though. That would have been doing their characters a disservice. They don't say that shit. Like,
I'm really happy we saw Marlene again, and I really appreciate. I mean, to an extent, yes, the Fireflies are this, like, militia group, if you will, that are destroying the government and just, blowing up trucks and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, they just really wanted to help humanity. And I really like that we saw Marlene again, because even in the first game, when you hear her little audio recordings where she's, like, talking to Anna and she's like, your daughter will be with you soon. Like, you could tell that they all had good intentions. And even the doctor was like, oh, my God, it's going to kill her. It's just, it sucks. It hurts. But gosh, it's just so well crafted, and it's clearly Abby didn't let it go after 5 years because she just got stronger. She was just working towards
figuring out belt.
Who Joel was.
And for sure, yeah.
That gym right outside her apartment, though. I would probably be stacked too if I had that gym.
I absolutely loved the idea of having where Abby was staying and Manny and Mel and Owen was in that stadium. I thought that was
loved that.
That's the smartest thing I've ever thought of, not thought of, but considered. Was like, that would be where you should go. It was like in the first game where like they're at the hydroelectric plant, and I was like, that is what you should be doing. They got their priorities straight.
Maybe I wouldn't survive a zombie apocalypse.
I know. Maybe I don't think this shit through that much because none of this occurred to me.
Yeah, but just tell that Abby was sitting on this for a while, and she really. And then I had that really interesting line, which at first I didn't like, but the more I thought about it, I thought it was just kind of very character of Owen, who, by the way, I love the movie Almost Famous, and that.
Oh yeah. Patrick Frederick, yeah.
And she says, "What happened to us?" And he said, "I guess just we forgot to stop looking for the light," or something like that. And at first I was like, really? Really? Come on. And now the more I thought about it, I was like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Owen is kind of goofy like that, but I'm just kind of going off on a tangent about everything I love about this game. It was so good.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No. I'm just going to keep talking about random points of it, so save me, please.
I just wanted to say, if the Fireflies did have some, what we think of as like noble intention to hopefully get humanity back on track, the Seraphites seem to be kind of going back to a non-technology. I love that. There's that moment where don't they say something and Lev's like, "Isn't that?
We can't touch the old.
That's old world."
Yeah.
I love that.
I loved Abby's reaction where she was like, "Okay."
So, what is the WLF's mission statement? Is it basically just we have a lot of supplies in order, and we're just going to keep spreading out? I don't think the WLF is looking for a cure. I think they're just basically trying to maintain order and wonder how far they can spread that order.
Yeah.
It feels like people.
Wait, they're what?
It feels like a lot of ex-Firefly people, or the remaining Firefly people, that are just kind of rejoining the West Coast.
Something, yeah.
Well, I felt like it was their own kind of. So the Wolves started as literally in their name a liberation front. They felt Fedra was too constricting on the people, so they rose up to fight against it, but then became what they feared most and ended up becoming the most restrictive of all of them, especially when Isaac took over, and he was just power hungry at that point. So he just wanted to, like you said, take in as much as he possibly could, which I feel like is very much mirrored in the Seraphites, where they started with good intentions. There was, I forget her name, but the prophet,
Right.
her whole thing started because she was super, super prepared. She had this vision that something like this was going to happen. So she set up like a bunker with enough to support everybody that she knew. And she took them in when it happened. And then everything was based off of hers. And then her whole don't rely on technology because we can't depend on it. We need to be self-sufficient and just have faith and be positive and look for the light, which I love that Abby connected that at that point. Yeah, when Yara was praying and she came over and she was like, oh, this is actually like something that I was brought up on. I saw a very blatant parallel between the two, where the second the original WLF founders, thank you, when they died, and then when the prophet died, that's where stuff started to get muddled. And it was just people using it as an excuse to push forward their own agendas and support their own narratives on what should be happening.
Yeah. And at that point where Abby says, look for the light, and Yara's like, what? And she's like, oh, it's just something my dad taught me growing up. That's when I definitely saw like the themes of religion in this too, and not just specifically because they were praying and stuff like that, but it's just like obvious, like a lot of the times, like you have all these religions, but they really just want the same thing. And it seems like people in this world just want to survive, and they just really want to make it. And sometimes people want to make it just by slipping by, and some people want to make it by killing thousands. It's just like there's so many different ways people are approaching it, which is why I saw themes of religion in this, where it's like we all want the same thing. We all want the same thing. We're just getting it in different ways. And I really love that moment too. I loved Abby going after those kids and bringing them to Mel and being like, we got to amputate her arm, like something's going to happen to her. And they're like, these are scars. And she's like, they're kids. It doesn't matter. Like,
what do you think about her dream?
Really like that.
Oh, of the kids hanging?
Yeah, because I've heard other people criticize it, saying it's too on the nose, but I felt like it tied that part up pretty quickly for like a 30-second shot.
I think so. And it also is like she's literally living in the trauma of it right now. So it doesn't bother me as like a shortcut to do, in the same way that Ellie seeing Joel, like flashes of Joel or thinking about Joel, doesn't bother me because it makes sense. She's living in the trauma of it right now.
And who knows? I mean, I think the Washington Post, they had a article where they talked to Neil Druckmann and the co-writer Gross, I think. But anyways, they said that originally it was 5 days. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah, I read that. That would have been a long-ass fucking game.
So originally it was 5 days, and Ellie actually goes to the Seraphite camp too. So who knows, maybe if it was 5 days, you wouldn't have had the dream be that way, because you would have done a longer way of getting Abby there. But I don't know, it works pretty well. It's like she's going down the hallway, and we're like, oh, this is the hallway, this is the hospital.
The recurring nightmare.
Yeah, it works. I think it works
for both of them. The recurring nightmare.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
Like
I think it was kind of like she has this recurring nightmare, and then you get to the point you think you know what you're going to see, but then it kind of shows the next thing she would be having a recurring nightmare about, because she wasn't there to help them when she felt like she could have, just like she was dealing with her dad.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the things that bothered me in this game, but the more I talk about it, I'm like,
Yeah, there's stuff that, like, the more I think about it, I'm like, I remember there was one thing, so my second playthrough really fixed this one for me, because I heard a lot of people, and I know I said this to you, Pash, where I was like, it's funny how, you know, she decides at the end not to kill this one person, but she's killed like fucking 500 other people. But then I was talking to somebody else about it online, and I was like, actually, because something that Druckmann said, I am a huge animal lover. I'm a vegan. I'm an animal rights activist. And so killing the dogs in this was actually a lot harder for me than killing the people was.
For sure.
And so there came a point in my second playthrough where I was just like, I'm not fucking killing any more dogs. Like, I'm not doing this. And I realized, I went back because Neil had an interview where he was like, what if I told you you don't have to kill the dogs? And so at first I was like, bullshit, we have to kill Alice, so you're a fucking liar. But like, I was like, other than that though, how far can I get? So my second playthrough, the one I just finished where I platinumed it, I went for as much, and now I was on super easy. Like I said, it's comical how fucking easy it is on that level. But I barely killed anybody in it. I stealthed through everything, just found the exit. It was my second playthrough, so I knew where I was going. You can actually play a majority of this game without killing anybody if you just really work hard enough to do it. And keep in mind, I was picking up every collectible along the line too. So I wasn't just going around the perimeter. I had to go up shit and like look for stuff. So they actually designed the map of this game so that once the point of the story hits you and you realize how much of an impact every little death counts, you can stop and you can work extra hard to get through it without actually taking another life, except for the ones that you have to, like Mel and Owen and like that stuff.
Yeah, I love that scene too, because Ellie just clearly has spent time with Joel and she knows how he operates and she can look for signs. It's like Tommy was here, but she really just butchered that map scene with Owen and Mel.
Leaving the map.
Yeah. It better be.
Dude, that was the thing where I was just like, I know you were fucked up, but seriously, like, Tommy didn't pick it up. Nobody else saw it. Nobody was else like, oh, that would have been bad, huh? Like,
whoops. You're like, you circled it and wrote, come find us.
Yeah, exactly. We have another pregnant person right here. Come get her. Like,
there's 4 people at this location. One of them is pregnant.
Come to us.
But I didn't kill any dogs. The only dog, you have to kill for the story is Alice, which
still hurts the most. Although Bear was a very close second. When you hit all the dialogue and you start seeing Bear outside, like that second playthrough when I go to the hospital as Alice, and I'm as Abby. And I like went up and I pet the dog because I pet every fucking dog.
Yes.
And she's like, oh, Bear, they got you out here? And I was like, I remember them yelling the name Bear at the dog when I was playing as Ellie. And I was like, I'm so glad I didn't kill that dog. I would have been wrecked if I had. And Bear's the one she like plays fetch with at the beginning.
I know, I was about to say, I love where you can play fetch with both Bear and Alice. And I love her getting Yara to play fetch with Alice.
No.
Ow. This whole game just ow. Well,
wait, so there's
like an hour and a half. I don't know if you guys have any other final thoughts. I know, Peter, you just started talking right as I started talking.
Wait, there's no way. Yeah, because with Ellie, when she gets to the aquarium,
you have to kill Alice.
It's a quick time thing, right?
Yeah.
You're right.
I tried not doing it. Alice kills you.
Okay.
Then there's the cutscene when you come back as Abby because she's like, or when you're walking through.
She finds the
Alice is dead.
Yeah, you're right.
We could sit here and chat about this all day, but I do want to wrap this up pretty soon. I love this game. I can sit here and chat about it all day. Do you guys have any final thoughts, any other critiques, any other issues with the game, or any other parts where you're like, I love this, I hated this? Because
I don't hate it because I completely understand that when you assess something, a movie, a game, whatever, you have to kind of assess for what its intentions are, what it's going for. With that said, I do wish that the tone is so tricky because everything is so serious, and there are some moments of levity. There are some night, like especially in the. We didn't even mention the big museum scene. That scene's great. Like I love that scene with the space with the. I love that scene. Like, but I was gonna say, I do feel like I think Abby's terrific. I'm not sure if I feel that Dina and Jesse. Oh, I like Lev. Okay, Lev's pretty good. But I'm not. I guess my main thing was not sure if I. Do you guys think that the supporting cast is as strong as the first game? I'm not sure.
I like Jesse
Abby.
more than I liked
Jesse.
Yeah, I like Jesse more than I actually liked
You didn't like Sam and Henry?
Tess, which is crazy because I loved Tess.
Oh, Tess.
There's something about Jesse who he's just so that he won me right off the bat with like, are you fucking kidding me? And then he's like, I'm messing with you. Like, I loved him immediately. From that point forward, he was good with me. The one who was a huge sleeper for me, I fucking hated Manny at first. I hated him. I wanted to kill him in a brutal way.
And then I loved him.
Oh my god, when his brains got splattered across Abby's face, I was yelling. I was fucking yelling at my TV. I was so mad. Oh my god.
Well, that's also an interesting part too. Whenever Abby finally finds Ellie, I can't remember who brought this up. It was maybe Peter or Kelly. I don't remember, but they were like, "Oh, Abby thinks that Tommy killed all her friends."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I thought that.
I had that realization too, where there's like a sniper, and you're like, "Where have I heard that there's a sniper in this before?" And I was like, "Oh, that's Tommy."
Yeah, realizing
the
that
fucking
I was like,
Terminator, man. He was so hard.
yes. Oh my god.
I love Jesse though. Go ahead, Emily.
I think I have two things. The only other thing that I have that's kind of like a not great is that a lot of the like cutscene people that we see die, that like are story people who have to die for the story. I think 3 of them are Asian, which is not great.
Yes.
Because you have Yara, Jesse, and the girl with the PSP.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, that's not great.
No, they're not. Well, it's funny you say that because actually I was thinking that all of the black characters, do any of them survive?
I guess they all.
So this is my thing.
That's true.
This is my thing because I'm in a gay gamer community. Mm-hmm. And before it came out, people were saying, like, I've read they bury the gays, they're burying the gays again. And my only response to them was, like, this is The Last of Us. It's not bury your gays. It's bury everyone. Everyone fucking dies. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So
that's true. I do think, and I appreciate, I think all of those characters were played by Asian actors as well. Yeah. So, like, that's good. I don't know. I was just like, damn, we have 3 Asian people who violently die on screen.
I would like to hear an Asian person's perspective on that. Yeah. Because actually, as a woman, I was just going to say, at the end of the game, when they, like, you're killing a bunch of chicks, and I actually was like, I'm kind of stoked that I'm seeing so many chicks dying. In this.
Like, so many women.
Yeah. Such representation, guys.
So as an Asian.
Sorry about that.
As someone, I could absolutely say that. I remember when I saw the trailer, and Jesse showed up. I was like, yes! I was like a supporting character.
So sad when he died. Oh.
And I was so sad when he died. I don't love
ruthless death, I think.
Yeah, I don't love Jesse as much as I wanted to, but I definitely like the representation. I mean, honestly, I really love Lev. Lev is the character that I was like, oh, Lev's like great, but I didn't honestly. The bigger thing to me, so for Asian representation, I thought it was pretty good, and I wasn't offended that they killed in the way that those characters died. My bigger thing was more that I was like, well, like Sam and Henry die, and that's sad, then Marlene dies, and it's sad because she seems like she's a good person, but she's in Joel's way. But then, like, is Jeffrey Wright who's the...
Yeah, he's Isaac.
And I was like, he's kind of just a bad guy.
He is kind of just a bad guy.
He's just evil. It's like, so that was my
Crazy.
only thing. And I was like, they don't
No,
really
I think that's fair.
Yeah. So,
You
But
said
no.
2 things, Emily.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. My other thing is that this isn't a thing that I dislike. This is the thing that I actually really like, is that I appreciate the fact that I feel like the story goes from being a revenge story on both fronts to being a story that's about forgiveness. And that, like, and living with the kind of forgiveness that you can give, however much that is. And that, like, us seeing the memory of Joel at the end, which, like, thank God it exists, is like her promising Joel that she will try to work to forgive him for what he did, is kind of the motivator in her, like, realizing, at least to me, that, like, this revenge mission she had for Abby isn't in line with what she told, like, her last words to him, essentially, and that she lets Abby go because that best serves the memory she has of Joel, which I really, really appreciate. Makes me really emotional. Yeah.
Speaking of Asians, though, I gotta say probably the best line in this game is when Ellie and Jesse are walking around and
yes, I know, in the bookstore.
Not my type.
bookstore. She's like,
Yeah.
Joel used to think I had a crush on you, and he was like, oh, really? She's like, yeah, but you're definitely not my type. And he was like, what, Asians?
That's definitely what I meant.
Lost my mind. I was laughing so hard because Jesse's, we haven't even broken up a week and you're already hitting on my girl. I was like, damn. I was so sad when he died because you have no time to, like, process it.
It was just like, it was again mirrored by Manny's death, where it was just like done. Like, right when you start to really love them to the most that you can,
out. Yeah.
Fuck you.
I like, with all of the comparisons, I like that Abby and Ellie both kind of have, like, a love triangle with someone who's pregnant in it, but it's the operation of them.
Yeah.
It's very different. Like, the relationships and the operation and, like, how they all function for each other is extremely different, which I thought was really nice as well.
I didn't even think of that.
Emily, I have a question for you, because I used to, speaking of representation, I used to identify as bi, and I personally really liked how they represented Dina in this. I thought it was a really respectful way to represent bi people, especially considering how bi people are often in media seen as being, like, tricky and like, you know, how did you feel when you were playing it?
I love Dina, and I was slightly worried that there was, because of the kind of triangle, because even though you haven't played as Abby by the time Jesse, like, you haven't played as Abby in a while by the time Jesse gets back, there was still, like, this understood love triangle that's going on with Abby and her ex and his current pregnant girlfriend, and I was like, this is similar, and I really don't want Dina and Jesse to get back together, because I will be very sad if this is how this works. And then it didn't, and I was like, I love this. I'm so happy. I really loved Dina. I do wish she was, like, a bigger part, but also, like, understandably she can't be. I don't know. I loved Dina. I thought Dina was great. The only thing I wish is that when I don't remember which part of the town you're in, but when you're in the queer bookstore.
Yes, they don't know.
But they don't know, which I think is funny, but also that, like, there's a rainbow flag and there's a trans flag, and I do just wish that there was a bi flag there too for like all of the rep going on, but I was like, there's a trans flag. Which was should have been my cue. I should have realized.
I kind of almost was like, are they going to bring Lev through there too and, like, have him see it? But I mean, no, I get it. When I was in that part too, I was just like, and they're like, what does it mean? And Ellie's like, look for supplies. I was like, fuck you, Ellie.
Fucking
Let her
we
trace
gotta
this
loot.
thread back. Come on.
There was like the big gay book on the there's like it was so good. There's like
All of the
completely missed
people
that
on these
part.
book
Good.
covers are women. Oh, she's putting it together, guys.
Yeah, I remember them posting screenshots of like, is that where Ellie plays the guitar for her?
No, that's up in the book. That's in the music store. God,
Yeah.
that scene though.
I blew through
Also,
both of those. I never
such a
saw
good
those.
song, such a good rendition of that song. Oh God.
my favorite take on me
Take on me.
of the like Ellie playing music is somebody was like, it's really funny to think of all the songs that were like completely different that Joel taught Ellie because she didn't know what they were supposed to sound like, and he made them sound acoustic guitar.
I was
like,
gonna say when it
thinking
came
about
up
it.
to that part, I was like, is she gonna go for the note right now? But then she dropped it down an octave, and I was like,
Yeah.
that was probably a wise choice. That might have been
Choice.
taken away from the moment a little bit.
Oh, so
Oh. I want to go play it again.
good. I know.
Like, I feel like I've given myself enough time and I can get back to it without it.
You're ready to
I
get
mean,
hurt again.
It's been out for less than 2 weeks. It's okay.
It's okay.
You can give yourself more time if you need it.
I might, dude. It's so good, and I really just want to play through it again. Also, again, the gameplay I love, so it's like...
This is the other thing I wanted to say. So, like, the way that I played these games, and even Uncharted, because I had never played Uncharted until recently as well. So my boyfriend was just like, you're going to love these games. We're going to play all of these things. So we played The Last of Us, and then we played Uncharted 4. So I still haven't played the first 3, and I will.
Oh, they're so good.
I know.
Yeah.
So we played 4, and then we played Lost Legacy, and then obviously we played, we played separately. We played The Last of Us Part 2, and it was really a very cool experience within 2 months to see how the Naughty Dog gameplay evolved, and like seeing stuff in The Last of Us or seeing how the mechanics in The Last of Us changed, going both from
Uncharted.
PS3 to PS4, but also coming from Uncharted 4 to and like Lost Legacy and being like, we're gonna have ropes, I bet, but they're gonna work differently.
Better.
But like they're there, they're gonna make more sense. But like, I mean, ropes and Uncharted are super fun, but yeah, it was really cool to see kind of how they finessed the gameplay system based on the stuff that they had developed for Uncharted 4, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah,
I agree.
and they released that they have no plans for a DLC right now, which is fine, because I really don't know what else that they could do.
I have a few ideas, but I also
have
know
some
that
thoughts.
they like to keep shit up their sleeve as much as possible. Like, they're big on the red herrings and just straight up lying to us. So, like,
Does anybody else want a Savage Starlight DC, or is that
yes,
just-
dude, I want something to do. So, I love comics. I used to collect cards. I
What if
did
that's
all
the
of
space
that
game?
shit.
Well, yeah, I'm assuming that's the space game. That's what
I need it.
Yes.
I figured that's the game. That's what I was
Like
thinking.
they should just
yeah.
make that as a full game as the space game.
Oh,
That would
did
be
you
so
guys?
fucking cool.
Did you guys? And again, I haven't fully explored all the collectibles, but did you guys like the cards? Because I love the
cards.
comics in the first.
I liked the cards quite a bit.
I like the cards more.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because it gave
Okay.
you more information. With the comics, you just got like a little thing, but with
That's true.
the cards, you got, because of the character analysis and all of this. Oh, did you Dr. Uckman?
Yeah,
That was the
that's
best one. And it was like, and his, what was it, the something dogs, I forget. But dude, that was awesome. I love how much of a understanding I got off of this thing that Ellie loved so much, to the point where I was like, I want to read these comics right now.
Yeah.
Also, I was going to say this to you, Patches, and I forgot to actually send you the text for it, but one of my favorite moments is in the flashback with Joel, but not the birthday one, the one where they're going through the hotel. And at the very beginning, he says he's not into the comics, they're not his thing, but then goes on to prove that he read a bunch of them specifically so that he could talk to Ellie about it. And it made me just like, my heart swelled at it.
Oh, I love it.
So it just reminded me of my own dad, because I used to read all these comics and he read like older comics, and the ones that I liked he thought were like too gory and shit like that. But I remember him like taking them from my room and then would just subtly at dinner be like, so in V for Vendetta.
No, I love that. I love the flashback scenes with Joel, and it hurts just because he's not with us anymore. But yeah, I really enjoyed the kind of in Uncharted 4 where Nathan Drake takes notes and he draws little sketches every night.
It was nice to see that too.
Oh yeah.
I loved seeing that. And at the very end of the game, when you go back to the house and see that Dina has left, you can actually still go through your notebook. And she's drawn this really amazing photo of Joel sitting on the porch playing guitar.
Yes.
And it's interesting going through going through Ellie's head a little bit, because she's very precise in these notes to herself, where she's like writing song lyrics, she's writing poems, and she's writing notes and she's sketching all the moths everywhere, and I love it. And she's drawing Abby's face and JJ's face, and it's just like, oh, it's so good. So many tattoo ideas.
Yeah. Dude, the other thing I noticed, two things I noticed. First of all, did you guys carve in the tree at the farmhouse?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
I didn't notice that my first playthrough, but the last time I did it, you can carve JJ's name.
JJ. Yeah.
It's so cute. Then also in her studio, I don't know if you guys noticed this. I just noticed it. Well, I noticed it on my first playthrough, and then I double checked it. But at first when I played it, I was like, Dina's gone. She can't trust Ellie because Ellie abandoned their family for this outside thing, and I don't think she's going to take her back. But then in her studio, if you look at all of them in the first part where they're happy and everything, she has this portrait of Dina holding JJ on the wall. And when Ellie goes back, Dina took it with her when she left, and it's missing off the wall. So that was something that I was like, maybe, I don't know, maybe there's going to be some sort of connection
there.
Yeah, maybe.
I've seen some people online too know, and I don't know if this is just a thing where like, I don't know how video game development works, but I don't know if it was just a thing where like Naughty Dog they've already put in the time to create these pieces of art, therefore they might use them over again. But some people have noticed that the painting that was in Joel's house is actually in the new house where Ellie and Dina live.
I think that was intentional, because in the last scene, his wood carving of a bucking bronco is in Ellie's studio.
Oh.
I think she took stuff from the house that like he did.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I
know.
This game hurts, dude. It's so good though. I mean, I don't know if I would say it's better than the first game, but I think it's hard to compare them.
It's very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And
they're both their own separate entities,
Yeah.
Like you can respect them on their own. You don't have to. I know that one's a sequel to the
pass
other,
out.
but we don't really need to compare them that strongly. They're two different stories. One is Joel's story with Ellie, and the next is Ellie's story, So
it's so good. Does anyone have any final thoughts while we wrap this up?
Dude, I had something, but it's gonna bother me.
If they do a Last of Us Part 3, how long do you think it would be? In 5 years? In how long?
I mean, given Corona, who knows?
Oh, that's true.
I think it's going to be a while, because I think that, especially with how much shit this game got, I think they're going to make sure that they have something so impenetrable, basically, and they're already like that, just as a company and as producers. So I feel like it's going to be, I would say maybe 10 years. I don't know.
I think Naughty Dog understands too that you can't make everyone happy, and I think that they have discovered who their audience is, and it doesn't really matter anymore. But I think it's gonna. I don't want to say the next gen console like PlayStation 6. I feel like it might be on the PlayStation 5, but You guys know I love The Last of Us, but man, I really want to see Naughty Dog do something else. Like, I really want to see them really branch out because they pretty much wrapped up Uncharted, and I think Uncharted is good where it's at. I really don't think you need to expand it anymore. Last of Us is good right now. Give us some space games. Like, give us some crazy.
I could see that.
Out of the norm. Like, I just really want something new.
No, I agree. I would love for Savage Starlight or something else to become an actual IP for them. That would be great. My only thing is I feel like that assuming Neil Druckmann stays at Naughty Dog, assuming that a lot of the creative people stay there, I don't.
Also true.
But I don't, and I know that Patricia and I think we sort of disagree on what I'm about to say. I'm a huge fan of The Last Jedi, and I remember a lot of Star Wars fans did not like The Last Jedi.
I love The Last Jedi.
I do too.
I got into so many fights over that shit.
Wait, by the way, I'm not saying Patricia doesn't like The Last Jedi, but I remember
Get out.
I was like, what are you saying?
Because I remember, Patricia, you really liked Rise of Skywalker, and I was okay. I mean, I thought it was okay. Like, I didn't hate it, but, different directors, different writers. That's very much a studio being like, a lot of our fans didn't like this movie. We
need to course correct. Yeah.
I don't want that for The Last of Us, but I don't think it would.
Game of Thrones final season.
Right, because I feel like I'm like, no, because it's not like they're gonna say Last of Us Part 3 is gonna be made by the people who made Call of Duty. Like, that's not gonna so I'm like, no, it should be okay as long as they creatively are like, okay, this is what we want to do. Then I'm on board. I just don't.
I think they'll be okay. I feel like Druckmann knew going into this that he said years ago it was going to be divisive. I'm sorry. I feel like he has no issue and I feel like he's also said in a lot of instances that just his whole life he's gotten shit for just who he is. Like, there's a reason that Dina has so much dialogue about what it's like growing up as Jewish because that was Druckmann's upbringing and he got a lot of shit for it and stuff. And he says it made him stronger. And I think he sees the value in not backing down from what you want to do and the stories you want to tell and the fight you want to fight just because other people are going to have a problem with it. There's always going to be somebody who has a problem with it.
Yeah.
I have faith in them to stand up for what the stories they think need to be told.
I agree. I mean, I hope, but yeah. I hope this, and they said it was the biggest pre-sale, right? Biggest pre-order.
It was wasn't it like the biggest PlayStation exclusive?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I think it's like 400,000 copies or some shit right now.
Like, I hope I hope it does really well and stuff. I'm pretty.
Or 4 million. I don't know what I just said.
I think you're right. I think it is million.
I'm like 4 beers in right now.
I'm pretty confident, though, that I feel like while there was a lot of controversy about the leaks and things that I didn't pay attention to, I'm pretty sure the people who played the game, I can't imagine that there won't be a lot of fans of Abby. I can't see that not happening. If you finish the game.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm surprised we didn't address the review bombing that happened.
What do you mean?
Because I don't want to talk about it.
Within 2 hours of it being released, it had 10,000 zero-star reviews and stuff like that. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard because it's like if you play the game even for a second, the graphics and the gameplay alone bring it up to a 5, even if the story was non-existent. So it's just it's the stupidest thing. People have way too much time on their hands if they're doing shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk too much about trolls or whatever, but I had there's a guy I work with who never played The Last of Us, and then he texted me, or he slacked me a few days after part 2 came out, and I was almost done, and he's like, not hearing good things about this Last of Us part 2. And then he said all these things, and I remember I Marco Polo'd Patricia, and I was just like, all this stuff everything he's saying is wrong. I was like, how can this is all incorrect. None of this is right. It's what, that's just so, and it made me nervous about reading Polygon and Kotaku both had mixed reviews. However, I've read the reviews now, and while I don't agree with them, they're not like troll reviews. They're like,
no, they're not. But
yeah,
the Polygon one is just not well written at
yeah,
all.
the Polygon one's.
I love Polygon too as a whole.
Polygon.
I was really disappointed in that review.
It felt like the writer Maddie, I don't remember what her last name is. It felt like she very much did not want a game like this right now. And that's fine. Like I totally get that. But I would agree that I thought the review was, I was like, she keeps coming back on these points, and I'm like, I don't think that's that big of a deal. Like, but yeah, so, but again, I didn't think it was like hate filled or anything. I was just like,
it wasn't like YouTube comments or anything like that.
Not like that. I mean, like,
but the thing is with YouTube comments, you kind of expect people to give their personal take on it, whereas with a professional review, it's kind of like your personal bias doesn't really belong that much in this. You're supposed to be looking at this in a very unbiased way, and I feel like she just reduced it down to the most minimized concept, and then any point that derived from that she would go after it. And it's like, this is a very nuanced game. There's a lot more to it than just revenge is bad, violence is bad. Like, there's so much more to it.
No, I agree.
Totally. And I've steered away from a lot of reviews just because of that, where it's like, I'm of course not going to agree with it, so I don't need that negativity in my life. But like, it's true. Like, I just don't care to read. I mean, I understand. Like, I get like hearing other people's perspectives, but it's just so hard to change my mind with this kind of stuff. Like, I'm not reading it to.
Well, you don't really need to read a review. You played the game. You have your own perspective on it. Reviews are supposed to be for people who are still figuring out if they want to get the game.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where my nitpicking with that came from, but it doesn't affect me at all. Nobody's convincing me this is a bad game. I've finished it several times now, so it's like...
Totally past that at this point. But yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I know this was kind of chaotic, but I was so excited to finally talk about this with people and at a social distance at our respective homes. But thank you guys so much for taking time and hanging out with me. And if you want to plug anything I know Kelly's not on social media. Go girl. But Emily and Peter, if you guys want to talk about where people can find you, if you want them to find you on social media, you want to see reviews, you want to see YouTube, tell me where they can find you. You could start, Peter.
I'm writing in a site called Why So Blue, which is more movies, like Blu-rays and theatrical. We do have a video game channel, but I haven't written for the video game channel yet, so maybe soon. But I'm on Twitter as Pajamo.
Hey.
I'm on Twitter as Emily Mazer. It's my name. I write movie reviews at Movie John, and then I have a booktube channel called This Buys Bookshelf where I talk about books.
Oh, I have a ton of questions about that. Let's talk to you off podcast.
Yeah, we can talk about it later.
About books?
Patricia doesn't like books, so
no. Patricia
doesn't know how to read.
Patricia Patches has never read a book in her life.
Patches can't spell patches.
Last time I checked, though, I think I gave Peter like 2 of my.
Oh my God! I know.
Time to read.
You have. I'm terrible. You have. You give me 2 of those, and then I'm reading this other book that I want to ask Emily about afterwards. So,
thank you guys so much. You can find me at Patches Things on Twitter and at Patches Plays Games on Instagram. Again, check the link down below. I'll put everything that we discussed down below. And I'd love to hear your comments about it, good or bad. Let me know what you guys think of The Last of Us Part 2. And again, sorry, this guy was just so excited to finally get all our thoughts out there. There was no plan to this whatsoever. Emily was talking about having notes, and I was like, oh, what is that? So
just for me. It was for me.
I love that. I love it. I'm inspired. Thank you guys again so much, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.
Later, bye.